So welcome everyone to the Co-Creators Convergence Thursday night creator convos. We have two wonderful guests tonight, Reverend Laura George and also Sheri Herndon. And Laura will introduce you to Sheri in a moment. But first, let me tell you something about Laura. She is the executive director of the Oracle Institute, an educational charity located in Southwest Virginia, specifically Independence, Virginia. Oracle is a think tank that studies the nexus between religion, politics, human rights, and conscious evolution. It operates a spirituality school, award-winning publishing house, and global peace practice. Oracle is headquartered at the Peace Pentagon, a training and center for pluralistic programs, and also serves the Valley of Light residential intentional community. The Oracle Temple is also an esoteric church. Reverend George is a member of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle and is the author of the Oracle Foundation trilogy, The Truth, the Love, and the Light. So thank you all for coming. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Co-Creators Convergence before I turn this talking feather over to Laura and Sheri. Thank you all for coming. But before we get started, I want to welcome you and tell you a little bit about the Co-Creators Convergence and what we have coming up, because we're here every Thursday night. So even if we're in Costa Rica, we're here every Thursday night. So anyway, stand by and let me do a share here and tell you about the Co-Creators Convergence.
A really fun evening planned, and I want to introduce, I'm hosting tonight, and I want to introduce Sheri Herndon, who is our primary guest. And I've known Sheri for a while, but for the last 30 years, she has danced in the field of evolving consciousness toward creating new forms for culture to be fully actualized, pioneering as a social architect at the nexus of conscious evolution, technology, and storytelling, all while serving the regeneration and healing of our planet. Sheri loves working with leaders of this new culture who are ready for the next level of synergy and co-creation, and supporting new innovative organizations and projects that support the foundations for a truly enlightened civilization. Sheri has launched recently a new podcast. It's called Awakening Together. And this is co-founded with the Institute of Natural Law to remember the original instructions from Mother Earth and the indigenous elders, and to embody them into all sectors of society. You can discover more of her curation on Facebook and Awakening Together website, and you can learn more about my work at theoracleinstitute.org and peacepentagon.net. So I know tonight Sheri has a meditative video that she's going to share to get us started, and just to further prepare us for a really holistic and in an intimate moment together. I'd like to just start by getting us centered. I'd love for everyone to envision that we're actually together, that we're in a circle, and that at the center of this circle is a candle that's lit. And I have one right here beside me. So I'm hoping tonight we can join in this circle, raise our vibration, keep the vibration high. And I know Sheri's going to help us anchor this frequency right now. Sheri, I'm going to turn it over.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I love co-creators. I love the global co-creators and the communion of pioneering souls. I really feel that. And thank you so much for really presencing us in like the non-local, space, because that's so real. So I really feel that fire in the center between us all. And I also want to just clarify, awakeningtogether.one is the podcast, and the Institute. So that's I founded that. And then I've been in a co-founding journey with the Institute of Natural Law with Zach Bush and some other amazing humans. And stay tuned for more of that. But this conversation, when Noelle and Bob asked me, would you like to speak on today? I said yes, and I kept figuring out what topics do I want to be doing. And for a while, it was synergistic democracy, which we could do another time. And Laura has so much to share about that and about democracy in general and like where it's heading and what's possible. But I kept listening in because I really feel like we are at a pivotal time, and so. And I think we've always said that, like for how long have we been saying that? But maybe it's really true, maybe it's really true that now is even more important. And I want to just invite us, for everyone listening in this now and those to come and in the future in the archive, that to feel the spaciousness that we have here, that we are not rushing, because the soul loves spaciousness. And I think that there's something about like an urgency, this evolutionary urgency in our culture right now, that we can speed things up. And when we speed things up, we skim the surface of things, right? And so we're not able to like go deeper and deeper in, because we know that what the world needs right now is better co-creation, better collaboration, better coordination, better sense making, wiser decisions. All these things that mean a lot to each of us. And we need to like, as a society and a culture, a civilization, we really need to up our game. So the words, I want to just name them a little bit more, and then I'll go into this, and we will have an 8-minute meditation that it's a guided visualization that I did. And there's a little music from an amazing musician that's very light. But deep co-creation, everyone here is a co-creators. This is the co-creators convergence. That's like so beautiful and has been around for a decade. And I'm sure Barbara is in the house with us. Truly. But deep co-creation, I was just like, what is the next level of the inhabiting of our ability to co-create with each other and co-create with source, the divine from within, and that relationship to infinite potential, our greatest potential, personally and collectively. I felt like that is such an important kind of topic. So I want to kind of share a little bit of a story as a light context for like, why am I going to talk about this specifically? And it's kind of like this red thread that's like moving through the story of our conversation today. And I really think that right now we are, it's time for quantum jumping, like quantum jumping. And I don't just say that casually. I think it's very important because we need to like make some radical non-linear jumps, not incremental. So, and I believe that it's incumbent upon all of us to actually understand some of these do you quantum think distinctions. That's for another time, but you can feel it within your own body. And I'm going to get to that in terms of kind of like our innate knowing, like we know more than we give ourselves credit for. So in this new, scientific paradigm, we're learning how to navigate. We're learning how to navigate in like a quantum world, a holographic universe. It's like, oh my gosh, that's who's trained us? Where did we get training for this? So also, I want you to imagine for just a moment that I would imagine everyone here is in a mastery level. Absolutely. And it's infinite. And so if we can imagine for a moment that have been climbing and we're at the top of this incredible, like the Himalayas kind of thing of our own personal and collective development. And that feels pretty good to look around and go, oh my God, this is really amazing. And then we look around a little bit more and we realize that there's this whole other range ahead of us. And that should be exciting, because it means we are just continuing to be unfolding in our own greatness. So I believe that deep co-creation is absolutely essential for our future. And it's their skills and their capacities that we're learning. And I want to invite us into the wholeness that deep co-creation invites us into. Because we know that we've come out of this age of separation. We have all this competition. That's why we don't collaborate very well. I mean, I just heard a story about how some of the top soil organizations on the planet have not been able to get along with each other, even though they're doing this amazing work. And it's like, how is that even possible? And, you hear stories like this all the time, and we have this in our own lives, right? We have this in our own lives. Where there's a little teeny bit, maybe it's big, you don't want to talk to that person, you're like the thing, why did Jesus say, how many times do you forgive someone? 7 times by 7. It's just, you forgive. Forgiveness is this gift that we give each other. But when we fine tune to return to wholeness within ourselves and with each other, it's like we have to take more care. That's why I like that spaciousness. You can like feel the depths and depths and depths. And there's no wrong. We're human and we're divine. We're both. But we can like see and bear witness and go, oh yeah, wow, okay. So sometimes it is less subtle. It's less subtle, but the subtle is where we can actually feel the potency of how we're shifting the very foundations into more perfect understanding. So I'm going to ask us, before we jump into this meditation, to listen for 2 things. But right before we do that, I have to just share with you something that is, I would probably have been talking about something really different. But I've recently re-listened to a book called Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson. And it's done something to me. It was a transmission. It wasn't just a good book. It was like literally a rewiring of who I am. And I would, that's a great conversation to have about all that. That's a whole other conversation. But it's repatterned me, and I think it's just made me go, Sheri, I have this innate knowing within myself that is so deep and so profound. And how can I trust the loving universe and the loving universe within myself even more deeply? So 2 things to listen for. And this is going to be a little bit of these 3 themes. And before we go into this guided visualization, it's about 8 minutes long, and you'll be on a little journey. And you can open your eyes if you like to see the visuals. They're very gentle and beautiful, sacred geometric forms and cymatics, beautiful harmonics of water. But you can just listen as well. So when there's 2 things, one is your vision. And I'm going to bring in code 17. Ask boldly and deeply for your greatest heart's desire, for coded in that desire is the blueprint of your evolutionary potential. So Notice where you may not feel comfortable asking for your greatest heart's desire. And I'm not talking about low-level desires. I'm talking about the deepest heart's desire. And just allow yourself to feel that deepest heart's desire, because that's what we need. That's what we're activating today. And then also, what's in the way? The shadow, the unconscious, the things that keep us from connection. I'm going to talk more about relational alchemy later, but I want you to think of this. Whatever is in the way is the way. So we have the Taoist way, we have like the I Ching, we have like the way, the path. Whatever is in the way is the way. It's like such a good like reminder to be liberated, not to like deny, repress, get away from, but actually to go, okay, I can like go right into this. So I think it is now time, Noelle, for us to do our meditation.
Welcome. Tuning our bodies, our instruments, to the humming vibrations of life, to the rhythms and pulse of creation. First, tune in to your own inner presence, the inner vibrations that make up your unique expression, your unique gift, you as original medicine for a healing earth. Breathe into the still point within your body. You are an antenna, receiving and beaming. Even as you hear sounds around you, seemingly from the outside, allow this field of intelligence to reverberate within you as you become even more aware of the unique note that you are. We are in the creation field, the sourcing field, the womb of life. We are tuning our instrument to the heartbeat of life, the earth's song, humanity's song, and your voice, your exquisite presence and essence has never been here before. And we need your note to join the celebration for collective thriving. Notice how every moment is an opportunity to tune our instrument, to drop into deeper trust of ourselves, a deeper love and appreciation of who we are and who we are becoming. This becomes an act of creation. Remember, know thyself. You are an ancient and future human, and know that you belong to this intimacy of life, the one and the many. Feel your own delightful vibrations emanating from within. As you gather in this gravity of awareness, you begin to open yourself more fully to feel the wholeness, the seamlessness of life and this allurement of yearning to co-create with others in harmony. Struggle no longer belongs to this symphony of sounds. This emerging organic ecstasy, being fully present to life as a love story and to your perfect belonging in the harmony of the cosmos. Now feel the presence of others and their essences and their unique notes. Together, we are needed. Together, we awaken in beauty and truth and goodness. We are unstoppable as the heartbeat of humanity. Allow this realization to penetrate every cell in your body. Your body at the core of this fractal, connected to everyone who is here with us. This is the essence of a global coordination system where we are co-ordaining each other into our highest expression. Being able to play like a jazz ensemble, like an improv band for solutions and innovations and wise decision-making, all on behalf of the whole. Feel how we can synergize effortlessly when we welcome others in their uniqueness and we let them shine and we join together in this beautiful song. Always grounded in our note, our capacities from this place to listen, to welcome the newness and the new harmonies. This is innate and is our birthright. Our bodies, like vibrating antennae, for our most amazing expression as we co-create together a world that works for all. Repeat after me. I am fully present. I am listening to the wholeness around me. I belong in this song of life. We belong to this song of life.
Good. Welcome. um, just stay in that that field, the palpable field of what I call, and Richard Rudd refers to in the Gene Keys, the synarchy. It's those who are living in the gift frequency, this like higher frequency of love and on the planet, this new human, like I'm sure Laura has a lot to say about that, and I want to listen to that recording. One of the things that happens, and we can do that just now as we're together here, is everyone here has these Siddhic, the divine gifts that are emerging. There may be the edges of them, or some may be stronger. There's like higher divine gifts that are coming through each of us. And as divine humans, becoming more and more divine in that ultimate harmony. But we can actually exchange these gifts in a field of stillness with each other. So one of the things Barbara taught me of many things is about tracking what is emerging in the moment, what is here now, what is the radical newness, because if we don't pay attention to it, we'll miss it. And the naming of it is really important. So just allow yourself to feel like what is new for you now. And can you feel how you yourself are expanding into more of who you are because you are opening up to others who are here now in this circle. And this is not just the people in this Zoom room, but it is all the co-creators who have ever come to the co-creators convergence, and all the students and all the people who are in our soul family, and they are kin. It's all of them. And so we are connected to this incredible intelligence that we may not even realize we have access to. So I just want to invite that. And I want to, before I open up to hear from Laura for any questions, one of the things that, and we can dialogue before we open it up fully, because I have a few more things I want to name to kind of keep seeding this field, is we've had 2,000 years of a canon, a canon of books. You know, we have all these, whether you're Christian or not, it has influenced all culture for 2,000 years. And what happened back a long time ago was that the feminine intelligence was kept out of the, and the Mary Magdalene is the first apostle. And instead of co-leadership in co-creation, the masculine and the feminine leadership on the planet, we had it going through only through men, and Peter, then to the Pope and to the bishops. And so you have that story for 2,000 years. And we are in this massive reclamation of that knowledge and that wisdom and that gnosis, know thyself. This is the knowing that comes from direct knowing. So that is also the invitation for, like, where in you do you not like know yourself? Where are you still not? Is there like a gap or a place where you don't see yourself, which is why we need each other. And I want to just kind of quickly speak to this, because if we have blind spots within ourselves, this is then the practical application of, we have deep co-creation here, and then we have this connection to these like soul family, amazing co-creators. But what happens when something gets in the way and there's tension, or there's like a misunderstanding, or someone gives us feedback that we don't like? You can notice then where you're speaking, whether it's your soul or the ego. And the ego is that's the dance we do on humans. You know, Barbara had a beautiful book, still has one, from emergence, from ego to essence. And it's like the ego falls in love with essence, and essence falls in love with ego. Beautiful process. And her sister Patricia has courses on that, and you can read that book. It's amazing. So that ability for us to listen to each other, if I trust you, like Connie, who is here, has her book, The Trust Frequency. If I trust you, then I will listen to your feedback, even if it's uncomfortable. So I want to know, oh, I did something that wasn't quite in alignment. Oh, and if I'm not happy with hearing it, that's great feedback for me. So the more radically honest we can get with each other, the more we can consciously evolve, and the more light that comes into our beings, which I believe we are so close to a really rapid unfolding on the planet right now that it behooves us to, like, if there's something in the way and it feels uncomfortable, then just get calm and go, oh, this is uncomfortable. Whatever's in the way is the way. And just allow that. It's the energy of reaction. You know, it's the mechanics of reactivity is actually like energy in the body, the fight or flight. And we're training our amygdala to be like more in communion with our whole brain, including our heart brain and our gut brain. Like we're really bringing all of this together in our bodies, and we need each other for this mutual awakening. So if the kingdom of heaven is within, then it's our job to be harmonizing that with the help of each other. Like I have reached in a certain way the end of my own. I don't know if that's kind of. I'm gonna try to say it, but it's I'm finding the words. I have been working so hard, and I could like cry at this moment, like devoted to my own growth so that I can be a clear vessel in the world. You know, it's basically simple, so that I can show up more and more cleanly. And it's really, you can only do so much on your own. That's why people have their relationships, they have counselors and whatever. But I believe, yes, in those intimate relationships, but actually it's for all of us. It's for every single relationship I have is like an intimate, if it's meaningful, it's intimate. And so it's like our care of our love of ourselves and love for each other, that we're willing to, like, whatever's in the way is the way. So that I just have to speak to that, like the hidden feminine side of Christianity is this, like, oh my gosh, it's transforming me, this book. And I really feel the importance of this co-ordaining each other. Like, what does that really mean? I remember when Barbara first said that, it was 2012 at our resonance hub during the Birth 2012 stuff. And we had 90 people, and we co-ordained each other there. And it was so powerful. And since then, I love feeling that we are in spaces where we are co-ordaining each other. It's that sacred. And we're in communion with angels here. I am an earth angel. And like, whether you like that language or not, we are all, I believe that we're all earth angels, and we are seeing with the spiritual eye of the heart. Well, I want to stop for a moment because I've been talking for a long time, and the power of this direct knowing, and the faculty of direct knowing is like, collectively, we are an organ of perception of direct knowing, which is very, very exciting. So I'm going to take a pause, and I'm going to ask Laura. I have like a few more things that I want to share from that's about wholeness, but I would love to receive your reflection and some wisdom from you.
Well, there are a couple of things. Well, first off, that meditation was very powerful, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And thank you for playing that video. You hit a number of just topical themes already that I just want to bring us back to a couple of the points that you've made that are just so important. First, you raised the vibration clearly, and you put us all in the space of wanting to co-create. And what you said a couple minutes ago about reaching what you feel is not the end of your personal journey, but maybe a plateau, because in order to reach the next level, that is co-creation. That's creating with others.
Mm.
And so, one of our authors is Patricia Albert, and she wrote a book called Evolutionary Relationships, The Power of Mutual Awakening. And her point, and the point of really this talk tonight, is you really can only go so far alone.
Mm.
And yes, while no disrespect to monks on mountaintops, the real game now is trying to reach vertical ascension, soul growth in groups. And it's a challenge. It really is. So again, I want to tip of the hat to you for putting us in that space of feeling the joy and the desire of wanting to do it. So I wanted to just emphasize that point, that this really is where the cutting edge of evolution is. It's group dynamic, the social architecture involved in keeping that wavelength, not vibrating out when you do hit those high notes. And so, yeah, the whole symphony metaphor is perfect, because it's true. We each have our individual note, but the goal is to play with people who maybe we've not even attuned our instrument to at first. And that's about, establishing that initial frequency and then bringing it higher.
Can
The
I
other
say
thing
something about that? Just two
Sure.
points on what you just named. And now I've lost my point. So yay, keep going.
Well,
There's like, it'll come
I
back
was
to me.
gonna go into the sacred feminine, but before I do, you and I had just briefly talked earlier today about the program tonight, and we had touched on intentional community
Mhm.
and the difficulties that some of these communities are having when they're trying to maintain that second tier wavelength. It's still a challenge for even new humans. The term that I use in the book, even for new humans, it can be a challenge because we're not used to doing it. We kind of learn in our families of origin how to stay attuned to one another. But when you go out into the world and you want to pick your family and you want to pick, really good partners in life, and love and intentional community, that's when you really learn the most about yourself and the difficulties involved in co-creating. But the good news is so many people want to do it now. So many people have the basic skill set in which to approach it from a really genuine and authentic space. And the key is intimacy. And you brought that out too. That really is the key, is being able to be intimate with people who can sometimes put a mirror up for us that can be a little scary. It can make us feel defensive. It can show us something about ourselves that we were oblivious to or might be working on and still not ready to, admit might be a stumbling block. I mean, all those things come out in community and in co-creation.
I want to just say something. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is it's so topical. And I want a couple things is that I think it's easier than it's ever been, but we're not practicing enough to actually get that it's like, oh, it's easier because we're actually evolving when we do it. And we're becoming more of actually who we are meant to be, not the trauma. So we're dealing with healing. This is like a generation right now of like the wounded healers, like we're healing collective trauma of like thousands of years. This isn't, one of my teachers is Thomas Hubel. And, he's done a lot of amazing work, and, collective trauma is one of them. And I'm in his Mystic Cafe and also his ancestral healing, but he's been a teacher for 17 years of mine, and, 15. And so the trauma is being carried through. So it's not like you're carrying some trauma that is just yours. It's like, so anything you do to do any of that healing, you have to realize you're part of a larger whole. And when we realize we're a part of a larger whole, it's like when I feel that I do this on behalf of the whole, it isn't just Sheri having a little thing. It's not just personal. It's so transpersonal. Sure, you have your stuff and your lineage, but your healing of your biology, of your family, is a lineage back through time. So we actually are healing. Greg Braden talks about this too. It's like prayer and prophecy. It's so nonlinear, and so taking courage in like people say, oh, well, you probably can't you're you're excuse me, you'll get reactionary if someone said something that was hard for you to hear, and I'm like, no, I don't, because I have done that. I've gone through it. I recommend a book, The Presence Process by Michael Brown. The first half of the book is a transmission. You're just going to go, oh, wow. Oh my God. Oh, it's like worth, years of therapy, and for $15. It's amazing. And then it's a 10-week process, and it's breathing, and it's like affirmations, but it's profound, and you'll stir things up. Just like I use the Gene Keys as like a tool, go through victim consciousness into greater and higher frequency. And when we like now, I really, it's like, it's very rare for me to get reactive. If someone said, I'm like, oh, wow, I can feel that oh, that's uncomfortable. Like I can name it. Oh, that's a little uncomfortable.
Right.
Oh, you just told me something about how I am communicating with you, even you'll think I'm great. And when I'm blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, great. Thank you for telling me. Because collective, I've been a student of collective intelligence. This is also relevant. Collective intelligence, which is actually where I met Barbara, was collective intelligence in the new economic paradigm. We were at her house and with Jean-Francois Noubel from the Collective Intelligence Research Institute, who she loved. And is that it's kind of like the symphony, but it's different. It's like we are not whole if we can't listen to the intelligence of everybody around us. So if I know that I know Laura has my back, and if Laura maybe is not delivering her feedback to me in the best way, okay, well, no problem. We all get better and better and better. So I really want this is relational alchemy. This is, social alchemy. It's alchemy because you're transmuting the lead into the gold of who you are. So it's like, my God, aren't we motivated to like be even like more amazing? And most of us here have that mastery. And if you have little places where you're still working it, how awesome is that? You can more consciously bring your awareness to it and be like, oh, right, I don't have to be as reactive. The reaction is like a message for you. So yeah, that process. And here's something else that's really important. Richard Rudd, who I love him, and I love the Gene Keys, if you can't tell. Richard Rudd has been a teacher of mine for about 12 years. And he was in a group with us some years ago, 2014. And we were in a group asking him questions after a 2-day retreat with him. And someone said, well, how much time should I spend on the shadow in a relationship? They were like, I'm in this relationship, we have to like deal with our shadows, and everyone's got their shadows. And he's like, 10%. So it's just whether that's the perfect thing, or if you want more, but it shows you that it's like, you don't need to spend 90%. It's like, we should be like uplifting each other, like pointing out like how amazing we are. Like, my love language is appreciation, like the things I appreciate about people. And I will call people out too, if they're able to, so this is so foundational for creating a culture and a civilization that can actually be harmonious and wholeness. And maybe before we open it up, I want to give it back to you, and then I want to close out this time before we do dialogue with some quotes from Bob Atkinson's new book, Path of Wholeness. Should I do that right now, and then would you like to reflect some more? I'm sure.
Well, there's one other piece I would like to reflect back and share, because I'm hoping we, in the Q&A portion in particular, discuss this. And you brought up the sacred feminine, and that ties in with the collective healing. One of the main themes of all 3 of the Oracle Trilogy books is that we've been overweighted in this masculine Godhead. This is well known now. This isn't groundbreaking what I'm saying, but what I'm about to say may be. These ancient religions really need to be put to bed. They're now a blockage, and a lot of us have healed through them. And I think for those of us who have, and for those of us who see the light and understand that it's time now to fully anchor both this genderful and genderless view of deity. We're the champions of the next paradigm. And I firmly believe the paradigm doesn't shift until the Godhead shifts. If you look at history, that is when we have made what Barbara would have called the exponential leap. And sometimes with a dark age thrown in there. I mean, sometimes it causes a do-over if the collective consciousness isn't actually ready for the Godhead to shift. But that's what we're on the brink of. And I think it ties in with co-creation from the standpoint of partnerism, what Riane Eisler would call partnerism. I mean, that is in its purest form, the co-creative, environment and atmosphere we want to establish, because we know that men and women tend to think differently. We also know that within each of us is both a masculine and a feminine side. I personally believe a lot of the gender fluidity is stemming from a confusion with the law of gender. I'm referring now to Hermeticism. So we're on the brink of this major shift. And to move truly into that co-creative space will require that sort of dramatic shift in the Godhead. It's time for daddy deism to end.
Yeah, that's beautifully said, Laura. I really appreciate that a lot. For anyone interested, I highly recommend checking out the work of Megan Watterson from Mary Magdalene Revealed. Even if you're like, oh, I'm not connected to Mary Magdalene. She's like Harvard Divinity, Union Seminary, and went in as a non-Christian because she was like, I can't call myself a Christian if that is the Christian. And it was like, how do we even know what is that with what was left out, which I've known forever. I studied history of apologetics when I was 20, and as a Christian in a Christian liberal arts college, which we were all like, what is happening? Who are we? It was a very philosophical space of inquiry. And so I really appreciate you talking about what it will take to shift the paradigm. And I believe that when we reclaim the story that I've known that story, like, the Gnostic Gospels and Thomas and all that, and Philip, less so Philip, and Mary, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. But something happened with the way she is presenting it as a kind of memoir, that it just healed all the places in me that were wounded from my upbringing and from this like 2000 years, and actually remembering a past life of being killed during the Inquisition for your beliefs of, like, even if you were like direct experience of my relationship to the divine. So that's really powerful, Laura.
Yeah, and I think the primary intra-generational healing that needs to take place, that's what we're suffering from. We're suffering from thousands of years of losing Sophia, the wisdom, peace. And it's not just women who have suffered. I mean, men have suffered just as much. So yeah, going into this next paradigm of co-creation means partnerism. It really does. And it means getting the Godhead in balance. So I just wanted to touch on that too.
That's so good. Well, let me end with this quote. I just love this. Bob Atkinson has a new book, The Path to Wholeness, I think it is. But this was an excerpt, and I really like this. This that taps into a little bit of our innate potentiality. So, quote, as we tap into this unitive consciousness, we become the social artists needed today to ensure Earth's well-being as a living organism in need of collaborative, co-creative relationships and dynamic co-evolutionary partnerships on a planetary scale. So we need to be scaling this. Our personal and collective evolution of consciousness depends on living in this wholeness. As we do so, telling our own story of how we've experienced this wholeness, we connect the human family one story at a time. And then he has 3 consciousness principles. I'm just going to read the second one because it feels like these are guiding principles for this orchestrating this evolution. The second consciousness principle is innate potentiality. but it is dependent on our initiative to actively investigate reality. It's just like to be engaged in this process. Like, it's not like we've got it all figured out or what I've said is like the truth, but it's like inquiry. Like we're in this like powerful, like, what is it? Like, seek and you shall find, you know? The potential of the direction within us. In order for that potential to reach its fullest extent, we must become active and proactive in seeking that reality. Seek and you shall find. So
Beautiful.
isn't that just wonderful? I felt this kind of energy of my devotion and commitment to this for the sake of the greater wholeness of all life.
Well, Sheri, this has been wonderful. It's been a joy to co-host the Co-Creators Convergence this evening. I want to thank Bob and Noelle as well. And so shall we open it now, Noelle and Bob?
Yeah.
Shall we see if there are any questions or sharings?
I will put it into gallery and invite everyone to go ahead and turn on their video. And you're
Yay.
more than welcome to ask a question, join in the conversation. And let's see here. I'm just going to ask a few
And
more.
thank you, Laura, so much. It was delightful to
Co-create together.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
we worked a lot, Sheri and I, during Barbara's Office for the Future project years. And
Yeah.
so we got to know each other well then. And it's nice to be working with you again, Sheri.
Yeah, wonderful, Laura. Likewise.
Don't be bashful. If you have a question, you could just flag me, or you can use the reaction button and raise your hand that way. Bob, I want to ask you if any questions or comments came in through Facebook.
Looking right now.
I know there were people there. So I think, go ahead, David.
So I must admit that sometimes when I hear the thing about, you know, the patriarchal society and how men have kind of screwed things up, it really, and it wasn't stated that way, but I wonder what role men will have in the future.
You want to take that one, Sheri? You want me to take it?
Sure. Well, let's do it both. What a great, it's great, David, because if anything, it isn't that the pendulum wants to swing to some matriarchal kind of thing like women. It's actually wants to be in partnership. And I believe that men want that wholeness themselves because, you know, the patriarchy, men have been you know, you just have to look at all the governments around the world and all the major corporations. There's like, it's been very heavy male dominated. And I think that has been stressful for men and out of balance. So the role for me, I would be like men come into even more of their own greatness and their joy and feeling that they fit in and they don't have to like be kind of play in a certain role. Like it would be liberating to me. It's like it would if we are successful in how we are moving forward, it feels good to everybody and there's like a liberation there.
Well,
That's the
maybe
first
it's like
spiral.
what you said earlier about you know, what's in the way is the way.
Mhm.
You know, and I think men have been in the way to a large
Mhm.
degree.
I would
Out
think
of
there'd be a lot
balance.
of fear.
Certainly not
Yes.
all. Yeah, I think men have to. I mean, personally, I'll just talk about myself. I just have to get out of the way, you know, and become
Mm.
be okay with that, you know,
Mhm.
be okay, and allow others to come forward, especially women.
And I just want to add that in addition to the genderful nature of partnerism, it also involves racial parity, all these other separate categories that have been either oppressed or somehow sublimated by the patriarchy of the last few thousand years. You know, it needs to just open up to include everyone. I mean, the unity and diversity is the goal, and the wholeness of everyone, or the uniqueness within the wholeness of the system is the goal. So it's not just women, it's the other, you know, people of color and caste systems, which still reign because of corporatocracy. All of those systems create this out of balance world in which we live. And the only way to heal it and to put us into this future trajectory, which I absolutely believe is possible, is for us to hold hands and be in co-creation. Coming back to the theme of tonight, there's just no other way forward. Any form of hierarchy as opposed to holism and holarchy is also a problem. Like, we need to understand the nested nature of the universe and how all these pieces both interrelate, but then create greater wholes, which are then part of even larger systems, so that no piece is better. It's a functioning, necessary part of how we want to live now and in the future.
Yeah, and we're going to go to Connie in just a second. And yes, to Victoria, exactly. It's the fractal nature of life. That's why the more we harmonize, because we're creators, we're creating these systems, the more we harmonize and find that beautiful harmonic balance at the core of the fractal, then when it scales, it will stay in that harmonic, which is why we have to attune it and we have to align it and everything. And something that just, this is obvious, but it's like, I remember reading this some years ago, that the edge of evolution is learning to share power. And co-creation requires us to share power. You see it even in like beautiful teams, like evolutionary amazing people, and it's just like, oh, sharing the power. You have to know that, oh, I can let that go over there, and they can like take that and run with it because I trust their leadership, because they're not going to take too much. They're not going to hoard. So, Connie.
It is a totally new leadership dynamic, because part of the magic of this way of viewing the world is acknowledging the uniqueness and the strengths of others. So power really is the issue. You don't take too much power. You know what your strengths are. The group acknowledges it, and the expertise of each gets to shine. So, and that's something that's lost sometimes in the green meme, that can be just as difficult when it comes to true expertise as the green meme. This attack on expertise sometimes is a problem even at higher levels of the spectrum. But yes, when you share the power, part of that is understanding, you know, Sheri has an expertise in this area, in this sector. And Laura has an expertise over here, and Noelle has this expertise. And so it's not that everybody's doing everything, or even necessarily that every opinion gets the same weight. That's the green shadow side. Some people have expertise, and in those moments we should listen and revel in the fact that this group has that component in it.
Beautiful. I just got to throw this in there. Recently, I've been exploring this course that's called The Leader in Me, and it's for mostly for kids, but it's also of course for adults too. But and it's part of the Covey Institute. And this is perfect. This is perfect timing for me. Thank you.
So David, does it address these issues? Is that what you're?
Yes. Yeah. Well, but it addresses the uniqueness of each of us and our unique ability to lead, because it's not just the leader in me is about everybody being a leader. you know, not just some people, because, you know, you might just be leading yourself and that's fine, you know, but you might be leading others also.
Leading your own life.
I think
Leading
that's
your
the
own
power of
life.
the
Yeah.
circle. You know, we always meet in circle and, you know, recognizing, I think that's what we do at Co-Creators Convergence. We always are in circle because we always recognize that everyone there could stand up and, you know, do a workshop or write a book or whatever. But it's that sharing in that circle, just recognizing that each person is coming there with their gift to the shift in humanity and honoring that and letting them share that with you. And you take what you need and you leave the rest, or maybe take all of it. Take none of it. But anyway, I'm kind of cutting into your time there. I know Connie wants to jump into the conversation and
Yeah, Connie and Bob.
Well, I raised my hand a while ago to comment on a subject that's long gone, but
back to
yeah, if I can remember, I mean, there's so many salient points here that deserve comment, but I was going to respond to the fact that you're bringing the balance of the masculine and feminine, of the male and the female is so important. It just seems so absurd to me to negate a whole half of the population and say, you've been bad and wrong, so step aside and we're taking over. I mean, it's just been absurd to me because for one thing, I have a tremendous resonance to the male heart and to the tender male heart and to who these men are in their essence and how much they love and how much they want to be so much more than what society allows them to be and demands of them, that put them in a position where they've had to create this world that we live in many ways, so they get the girl, so they get the woman and have the kids and are successful and all that. So anyway, I just want to commend you both for bringing that to the party. It's so important, so important. And so that's that. And as far as the future is concerned, I feel we're moving into a higher frequency and we're being called forth into another reality where the laws are different, are expanded, it's a completely different ballgame that we're going into. And your work, both of you and all of the people here are agents of that, of listening to this emergent future and allowing it and acting from that place as it comes to us to bring it to pass on earth through our free will choice. So it's not we have to or it must or any of that as far as I'm concerned. It is. And it's all there is and all there ever has been as far as I'm concerned. And everything has served it in this process of transmuting the energies of fear and separation and scarcity, that we're in a lower vibration that we've been in for many millennia. And now we're moving into this higher frequency. So that's, I'll just bring those two thoughts to the party.
Thank you.
Bob, did you want to join in?
I'll ride on that a little bit, Connie. Thank you for that new perspective of part of the journey that we've been on in this time of patriarchy. All of that chest beating and corporate building and everything else was in part to get the girl. That worked for me. I got my pilot's license in high school. And so I really did have a lot of dates in high school and first couple of years of college because I was the guy that was the pilot, right? That didn't so much work with Noelle because she immediately got her pilot's license. But I think that, and just reflect a little bit more personally on this idea of the masculine and feminine. I got 3 points I want to make. This is the first. I've been in a small group with Pachamama Alliance group for the last couple of months, a group that went through Game Changer Intensive together. And we've been meeting every week since. And I missed the last 3 weeks because we were in Costa Rica. And when I got back on Tuesday, they said, just so you know, if we use this term in front of you, you need to know that while you were gone, we invented a term called being Bob-esque. And I said, what is that? And they said, well, it's having the presence of the balanced male, and all the people that are in this group are female, except one other guy and myself. They said that is someone who's balanced in a man who's balanced in their heart. And so, of course, I immediately went to studio effects and put blush on. And but it's a new time. It really is. And I think that I appreciate what you hinted at a little bit, Laura, about gender fluidity in these times. We go to a Unitarian Universalist church, so there's one of everything there. And I find myself challenged emotionally with, I don't know whether I'm supposed to say she or he or them or it or someone's unit, or as lawyers would say, someone's issue, to refer to their child. And there's an unease to that. But I really appreciate what you were saying, Laura, is maybe we're discovering a time here where, not to make everyone both in a single person as far as gender, but it's offering an opportunity for us to think differently. Or as Course in Miracles lesson for today says, there's another way to look at this situation. And so that provides that opportunity. And back to the subject at the beginning of the conversation about community, my last thought was about community, how significant that is. And we were blessed to be in Costa Rica for just over 2 weeks. Costa Rica is one of the 4 or 5 places in the world that has, quote, blue zone, which are the greatest number of people over 100 years old. And I recently watched a TED Talk on the subject just a couple of days ago. And it's very much about community, that where people, Okinawa and there, and they've used the example in Loma Linda, California, because they were Seventh-day Adventists. And the importance of community, lifestyle, diet's important too, but it's like 90% about community, lifestyle. And I saw in the examples that the TED Talk provided that supportive nature, balanced nature of masculine and feminine. I mean, he didn't say it that way, but in the examples that he gave and the video clips that were a part of that, it was very clear that that's a part of providing for longevity. I don't say longevity is like the end goal, like we should all try to be 120 years old, but the health that exists in a community in that way is something that provides for a person to live that long. Well, heck, that ain't so bad. So thank you for allowing me some time.
I recently saw that same research come out. I don't know which journal I read. The first thing I did was write Mimi. And I said, Mom, you've got at least 20 years left, because she eats right. She's in community. She's in this beautiful part of the world, which, to the extent we can get away from pollution, we can get away from it here. Yeah, but you're right. That's what I read too in that article, that the main factor is community, and it's the intergenerational, villages and towns where you find these centenarians.
Yeah, and also, this piece of the wholeness, if we're looking at wholeness, like sometimes I feel like I used to go, oh, that's my more feminine side. Oh, that's my more masculine side. And now I'm like, it's all one. I am not, that's not the feminine part of me, even if it's like the yang part of me, or now I'm in the receptive yin. I'm like, there can be the yang yin and the yin yang, and then at some point you're like yang yin, and it's like, so I feel myself in that You like that, Connie? In that fluidity of my own harmony within my being, that feels so good to not be like either or, but
Yeah.
actually it's this like harmony. And Ursula Le Guin was such an amazing sci-fi writer, and she wrote about this androgynous kind of aspect of humans, and kind of as she could imagine it, right? And also choosing which gender you feel like being in. I want to have a child, and now I want to be the man, and that you could actually like change that, which is like kind of a wild, that's another sort of interesting thing. But I feel like this capacity for us to be able to share power with each other in a way that respects the genius of each person, that unique genius, and to also be there for men and women as they're transitioning into more harmonious relationships, having compassion for them, because I think we all need to be like gentle with each other in this time of kind of like serious upgrades. Noel.
Well, I got a little gift in the mail today, and it's a coffee mug. I'd like to show it to you. First, it has a picture of one of my sheroes. Her name is Dorothy Day.
Oh yeah.
And, we went this past a year ago, December, to New York City to see all of her documents being submitted to the Vatican for her to become a saint. And it has a quote on it. It says, "We have all known the long loneliness, and we have found that the answer is community." So that's her book, The Long Loneliness. And that is there's an epidemic, especially coming out of the the COVID isolation period, that there's an epidemic of loneliness on this planet. And Pachamama also talks about their spirituality, and they talk about people being disconnected from others. And that's what we really is important as you're talking about community and health and being able to be together and thriving through and the mirror and the other things that are facing us is having is community. But I would just say, I would add to that is like the golden rule. That I'm a big fan of the Beatitudes. If I don't care what religion you are, but or how you would interpret that in your religion, but to love our brother as ourselves, and just to abide by the golden rule. We're also on a metaphysical level. I mean, there is nobody else out there. What we do to others, we're doing to ourselves. So for myself, that's how I kind of look at it. And I don't like to have those mirrors shown to me, but they sure are helpful after I get over that reactionary phase. I'm like, darn it, they've got something to say to me. They're seeing something. So anyway, I'm kind of babbling here, but community and living the golden rule and recognizing the uniqueness. That's why I love doing these Thursday night calls, because everybody that comes here has a different unique gift to the shift in humanity, just as Barbara says. And we didn't know ours was riding around in an RV to all 48 states and showing our movie. Who would ever write that on there? When I grow up, I want to. But so they're all unique. But anyway, okay, Sheri has shared the Aramaic Beatitudes in there. I'll have to look those over. Very good. Thank you.
Do you know Neil Douglas Klotz's work?
No, I don't.
Well, he's been I've studied Aramaic, and when I started studying Aramaic, it was like, because Jesus spoke Aramaic, and so then you got the direct kind of, instead of a translation through the colonizer or the conqueror, you got kind of more the straight version, or the more direct version. And it's so much more like, you know, he obviously is a poet about it, like Coleman Barks was for Rumi, but he also is that's his area of study and his translation. He's very, very precise. And it kind of just cracks open a whole other world of like what was actually being said in these, you know, we kind of, there was like this incredible wealth of kind of wisdom, and it was put into like kind of a box like this, when it's actually like this kind of wisdom for us,
Wow,
apart
thank
from
you.
religion.
Thank you. I'm going to research that. Thank you for so much, Sheri. You amaze me with all, yeah, you could talk to Sheri and find out, whoo, she went this way and that way and that way. And you gathered it all up and synthesized it and bring it to us so beautifully. So thank you for that. So that's all I had to, that's all I wanted to offer. But I do feel that, you know, the epidemic of isolation on this planet hasn't really been fully recognized. And that's why we need community. And you know, that's
why learning these things, and you know, when Laura and I were talking, and just the challenges of bringing people together. I mean, this is not new, right? But it's really such an invitation for all of us to be, we're like in a community of practice together here, you know. And it's also a community of devotion to being, to learning what it means to be in community, you know, virtual and also in person, you know, to be a good community member, you know, is such a wonderful gift that we give. You know, it is, I love that the golden rule, it's just like love one another, love and spread more kindness, you know, treat people with kindness. It's like, and, you know, I have a longing, I'm actually moved just a couple of days ago. Well, last night was my first night here, from my little cabin in the woods, which people have probably seen those photos over the last 3 years. Love that place. To now living on some land with people who live upstairs in their house when they're not traveling. And then my friend over in the tiny house, Moss from Yaima, and then my healer friend over here in the cottage. And then there's the music studio. It's over there. And it's all here. And these are people I've known for like so long. And it feels so good to be like what community actually is. And so I'm transitioning here to then more my real next level of the community.
Well, we're speaking about community. So Laura, you have to talk about the Valley of Light.
Yeah, I wanted to definitely just mention it at a minimum. We've been building a community. Well, the Oracle campus, we have about 22 acres here, and we're right on the river. And the property itself is just so beautiful. And we have been, I think it's probably come up on about 5 years, building a community here, and it's been tough. It's been really tough. Now, part of it is because of our rural location. But the other reason I think we've had difficulties is we really wish to have a Sangha feel, an ashram feel to the campus. So we're looking for people who are, if not on a spiritual quest, at least, I shouldn't say at least, but those who understand interconnectedness. So we're looking, I mean, to use the spiral dynamics model, we're looking for pretty rare humans, second tier humans. And the only other project I know of this caliber is Damanhur, and they were wildly successful. So yeah, the goal is to be a spiritual, sustainable community. The goal is to have this campus be populated by people who wish to share in service, either through the Oracle Institute, the charity we have now, or through their own charity. We've had other people with charities live here. To make the campus a public space. The Peace Pentagon, which is behind me, looks finished, but it's not. So this is the year we're finishing the interior. And I'm hoping when we have our grand opening celebration in 2024, that the community will be further along, but we have had a hard time hitting critical mass. And partially it's because of the rural nature of where we are. Some people think they're up for this mountain, rural experience, and then they get lonely. Or there's not enough culture for them. So you definitely have to have a pioneering spirit to be part of the Valley of Light, because of where it is. Our entire county only has 15,000 people in it. I mean, this is rural. So anyway, if this sounds exciting to anybody to help co-create a community, and at this stage you would be a co-founding member, please contact me. And there's stuff on our website about the Valley of Light, which we named in deference to Damanhur, the city of light in Italy.
And so you have tiny houses there. So how many can you accommodate now? I know you're going to be building more, but.
Well, actually, we don't have any tiny houses. We've
Right.
got 7 homes on the property. We do have a village of cabins,
Mhm.
but no, they're larger than what you would consider a tiny home to be.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yes, we've got 7 homes on the property. We've got a campground. And then we've got a lot of outdoor sacred space. All the outdoor sacred space is dedicated to the indigenous. And in 2018, the Kogi came here, which was really just an amazing visit. So we have called the Kogi Kiva, in addition to the Peace Pole Medicine Wheel. That was named because Baba Noel generously donated this gorgeous peace pole. And then we've got a labyrinth. So we've just been building. I moved here full time in 2010. So I've been building, and lots of hearts and hands have touched this land in the last dozen years.
Mhm.
Many people have helped build this. But I wish more of them lived here, because we really want to form a resident community.
It's absolutely gorgeous there on the New River. Didn't you say it's one of the oldest rivers in the Western Hemisphere, or maybe on
Well,
the
Sounds
it's
like
the
New
oldest
River.
it's the oldest in the Western Hemisphere. Some geologists think it's actually the oldest river in the world. If you Google it, it usually comes up second or third oldest in the world. So yeah, it's very
What's the name
sacred
of it? What's the
space.
name of the river?
New River.
Completely misnamed the New River. And it is the oldest river in the Western Hemisphere, and it flows south to north. Yeah, it's very mystical. Damanhur came out here to kind of check us out energetically, and that was an exciting trip. Anyway, the ambassadors from Damanhur went back and told Falco, yeah, she found the right spot. So they take an interest in what we do, and we have a connection to Damanhur. And I'll just add, when I went to Damanhur, they had already been they started around 1975. They had not let one American into Damanhur yet. This is back in maybe 2010, I went, 2008. And I was very curious why. And they said, because Americans don't know how to co-create. Basically, back to the theme, they do not know how to work well and play well with others. So there are Americans there now, but their vetting process was so careful, because they wanted all the stuff that we know is possible, the exponential growth and the fractal level growth and the wisdom of the collective. I mean, they just revel in that field, and we're having a hard time finding Americans who know how to play that way.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing I just want to say about that, Laura, that is that when we are given like a mission, or it's like ours to do, and it's like it's almost kind of like Job. You have to you just stay in and you stay in, and then
I get tired, but I'm not giving up.
It'll pop. It'll happen.
I hope so. I want Bob and Noel to magically lift up their house and move it here, because I know they love their new house. They definitely are high grade level communitarians. But it's a challenge, I think. It's a challenge for me. I had never lived in community before. I don't want to put out there like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I mean, we just had our annual meeting, and lots of stuff came out. And actually the friction, if you stay in the room together and work through it, that too leads to the next breakthrough. So you can't be afraid of those moments of tension. And a lot of people are. They'll just walk for, first time there's tension, they'll leave. And I'm like, wait, it's just getting good. We got to figure this out. It's a problem to solve. And a lot of people can't handle that.
No, that's true. Well, we are looking forward to bringing some groups out there this summer. So
Yay.
yeah, 2 different groups. So, it's a wonderful place to share and spend some time with. So,
Well, you mentioned one of them is the URI group, and we're a United Religions Initiative cooperation circle too. So that's great. That's great. Although ours are a lot smaller. So yeah, bring yours out.
we'll see who's up for it. Oh, I just
Okay.
want to know if Sheri, if you have any final words you'd like to close with, or Laura, just close us out for this beautiful evening. Just wonderful conversation. And I'm going to have to go back and listen to that meditation again. And I did
Good.
the link in the chat if you'd like to, anybody else like to pick it up and listen to it again. It's just.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
I just kind of responding to Victoria, it's like thought creates reality. And in the Hopi prophecy, one of those kind of the final section, it's like, banish the word struggle from your vocabulary because it impedes your spiritual development. And I really like that. I think sometimes we create the problem more and we loop it around. Oh, it's hard, and oh, it's a thing, and da. And it's like an invitation to Joe Dispenza is always talking about that. That's like his whole thing. So I really love feeling that we are amazing co-creators, and we are inspiring others around us to be co-creators as well, and to really be in their genius and to synergize it and to enjoy ourselves along the way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Laura and Sheri, for this wonderful conversation time together. Thank you all for coming. And we're going to have another wonderful guest next Thursday. Hey, Talia. And she's going to do some readings for us. So if you have any questions, come next Thursday. Might get some answers.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Good night. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Bye.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone. May peace
Bye,
prevail on
everyone.
earth.
Thanks for all your great work.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. We're going to get that village filled up, Laura.
Okay, let's do it.